All right, everybody, I'm just gonna wait a little one or 2 minutes here as I kind of, do my thing and make sure everybody's here. Again, my name is Joe Genova, and I do have the lovely Ginger Greenlee with me. She'll be joining us in just a little while when we move into the squat portion of this tutorial or instructional or whatever we want to call it. As you may have noticed, those who watch the videos on Tuesdays, there's more of a workout in it, and on Thursdays you're going to notice that there's going to be a little bit more of an educational component. This is where I want that question and answer anything to kind of transpire. And last Thursday we talked a lot about food. I gave you a huge amount of content in a half hour. So I got a little follow up and a few questions to answer now. So I want to do that first before I move into some introductory concepts when it comes to the squat. And the squat, it is something some people are afraid of it, some people love it. I want to tell you and kind of rest assured that what I'm going to show you today will take any movement that you're doing in the gym or at home or just in life to that next level, okay? I preach engaging muscle bellies prior through going through a range of motion. And maybe that doesn't make any sense. I may be like, what are you saying, Joe? I don't get that. I'm going to show you what that means today, okay? But first, I do want to follow up with a few of the food concepts because I kind of crammed it all in, and some of the questions that I got were like, how much food do I actually eat, Joe? What are these macro things you talked about, the proteins, fats, and carbs, but like, how much do I eat? And I challenged you guys. I actually asked you to think of like, if you're drinking 12 sodas, can I do 10 today? Instead of 4 beers, can I have 2? Taking an incremental step toward a goal. Even further before that, I asked you to set a goal. And so today, I really want you to think about that goal. I want you to think about where you're going, what we're doing, and how we can get there. Now, one of the questions that I did get is about cheat days, okay? And I want you to think about just the days in the week. And I don't know where you're at on this scale. We're not on a one-on-one setting. So again, jgenova@healthsport.com. It's right up here, jgenova@healthsport.com. Send your questions in. Be personal. I will navigate with you. Maybe we can set up some one-on-one time to go back and forth and figure some stuff out for you, okay? But in general, let's just say we're on the worst case scenario, okay? We're not doing real good, especially with this, COVID-19 thing happening. I know my own personal habits have kind of slacked a little bit, so maybe we're on that space where we used to hit the gym 5 days a week. We used to eat really good 5 days a week, but now maybe 3 days a week, we might be trying to be active. We might be trying to do something, to find a way to do it because all the gyms are closed and it's a little bit more inconvenient to do that. So let's look at that, okay? The challenge that I asked you to do is find an outcome, find a goal that you're looking to do, and I hope you did that. And then the aspect of cheating, let's talk about that, okay? So there are 7 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in our week, right? And so if you're going for that 12 sodas down to 10 sodas, right, or whatever that is, and you're making those incremental steps and you're actually doing it for 4 days of the week, right? That's a majority of the week. I put 8 circles up there. But 7 days in the week, if you're doing 4 days of the week, you're doing a majority, because the other 3, hey, maybe we're not perfect yet, but maybe we're there, right? 4 days a week we're doing the right thing, maybe 3 days a week we're not doing so great. So I challenge you to take it one day a step further. So maybe only one day. I asked you one day last week to go from 12 sodas down to 10, or from 4 beers down to 2, or whatever that was for you, whatever that goal you set for yourself. Maybe you hit it that one day. I'm going to ask you today to take it to 2 days. If you were at 4 days, I'm going to ask you to take it to 5 days. I think you see the math there. I want you to take your goal and extend it one little bit further, okay? Now, one of the things we didn't talk about, and I'm going to challenge you to this right now, is water. It's a huge one. That's one of the questions that I got was, how much water do I drink? And all of us don't drink nearly enough water, okay? Maybe we do. I'm not going to classify everybody in the same boat. But moving forward, I'm going to challenge you to have one more glass of water today and tomorrow. Just one more glass. I don't know what that looks like for you. Maybe you have the 8-ounce glasses of fluid ounces of water a day. But have one more, just for me, just for the challenge. And see if you can't do that one more day of the week, every week moving forward. Okay, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get to that place to where incrementally we're moving just a little bit forward, okay? To kind of circle back to how much food should we eat, right? Let's talk about your hunger cues and your fullness cues, and let's kind of tie the water into that a little bit, okay? So I don't really break down meal plans for people. If we don't consume substances that might alter our hunger cues, and if we don't, stifle our inability to get hungry by over-caffeinating and all of those things as well, the general population has a hunger cue that tells you when you're hungry and when you're full. One of the things we can do with this is if we just start shoving food into our face, this is me, I eat very quickly, I do this thing, if I was to slow down, my body would begin to say, oh, whoa, hit the brakes, dude. You're getting a little full, right? So if I pace myself during my meal with those macros, and I'm going to show you based on how to use your hand, how to discern how much of those macros you should eat in 1 minute here. If I just slow that meal down, my body's going to tell me when I'm getting full. And my body's definitely going to tell me when I'm getting hungry, because I have that hunger monster, right? I don't know if you guys do or not, but when I get hungry, I'm like, rah, I'm hungry. So one of the things we can do to make sure we're hungry, though, is to have that glass of water. Because it's a pretty cool thing. Our hunger cue and our thirst cue are tied together in our brain. I won't get all scientific on it, but if you're thirsty, your body says, rah, I'm hungry. So maybe before you have that next meal or that next snack, get some water going. Take a nice big 8-ounce, 12-ounce glass of water, smash that down, and we'll see how hungry you are in about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. If you're still hungry, then rock and roll. Now the meals that we talked about, okay, with the proteins, fats, and carbs and all that stuff, and the half of that, whatever the proteins, fats, and carbs measure to be, I want you to match that with vegetables. If you can do that 3 meals a day, we're hitting all the points, right? Where we're at with it, with the proteins, just to see how hungry you are and all that stuff, let's start with this. Let's start with the palm of your hand. This is the serving size of protein that I want you to start with, okay? And when it comes to the meals that you decide to put carbs in, because you drained your blood sugar and you're going to spike it back up, let's say the carbohydrates are what you can fit into the cup of your hand, okay? And let's say you're doing some meals with fats and good stuff. You're going to use your thumb for that, okay? So imagine this quantity of oil or nuts or seeds with a little bit of protein. Maybe you sauteed that with some vegetables, and that's your proteins, carb, and veggie meal, right? But maybe post-workout, you have some lean meat with some brown rice or some potatoes. We're going to minimize those carbs, right? And then you have some green salad or something like that to mirror the quantity. That's your post-workout meal, right? So anytime meals, let's look, if we broke down our plate, I want to see half or a little bit more. This is our vegetables, right? You can stir fry, you can do some cool stuff with it. I want about a quarter of it, or about the palm size of your hand, to be your proteins. And then I want about a thumb size to be fats. So let's look at that. Maybe you had some chicken, some olive oil, some bell peppers, some broccoli, some cool vegetables. You chop that all that stuff up. You get your olive oil in the pan. You add some garlic, some onion. You throw your vegetables in, get them softened. Throw your protein at the last minute, some salt, pepper. Bam! You got an amazing meal any time of the day. That's what you can do. Now, if you're trying to maximize that glucose response or the insulin response to glucose spike, that's when we have our half plate of vegetables still. I'm going to preach that all day long. We have our proteins, right? And you have carbs now. You can include those carbs, hopefully in the source of fruits or whole foods, okay? I hope that makes sense. I'm trying to kind of keep it concise because I really want to delve into some of this functional mechanical squat stuff and getting you to engage your muscle bellies. But I want to make sure I can express this so you can understand how much food you should be eating, because every human being's different. Based on the amount of work you do, the amount of working out you do, the amount of stressing you do, you're going to require more nutrients. And that can depend on every single variable in the day, your environmental factors, your mental factors, everything. All the influences of your life affect how hungry you are and how much you actually need to feed your body. So hunger cues and fullness cues is something that I really wanted to kind of delve into today. Listen to your body. Slow down your eating. That's the biggest thing. If you're a reader, one of the things you can do, take a bite, read a paragraph. Go pick up a magazine, read through a paragraph. Bang, second bite, okay? Super cool. If you're not a reader, maybe you have a conversation with somebody. Maybe you're quarantined with somebody, you're sitting down and you can have a conversation. say a sentence, slow down. I personally, even with Ginger with me, I'll eat twice the amount of food when I'll have a whole Subway sandwich. Ooh, maybe I'm not supposed to say brand, but I'll have a big old sandwich and she'll have a small little sandwich and I'll do it in the same time, right? I can own my mistakes, I should slow down myself. But that is a way to maintain what we got going on. To go back to cheating, that was the one that actually hit home, is cheating and rewarding myself with food and all of that stuff. I'm going to preach this all day long, okay? If the majority of the week, remember this day is not here, I wish we had 8 days in a week sometimes, but if we have 7 days in a week, and the majority of the week, you're killing it. You're doing all the things that I'm saying with anytime meals and post-workout meals, and you're jamming, right? And you decide, I'm going to do something 1 day a week. I'm going to have a cheat day. By all means, have a cheat day. We run into problems when the cheat days turn into this. And like I said, like me and Ginger and I, we started having Taco Tuesday like every day, right? And I saw it manifest on my body, okay? I don't know where you're at with that. Maybe you're disciplined more than I was during the beginning of this, isolation and all that stuff. But when it comes to cheat days, I'm not going to say that I encourage them or not. It's a personal conversation. Maybe you send me that email, jgenova@healthsport.com. Let's see where we're at, and let's see how ready you are to commit to making changes in your life and what your actual goal is. And then we figure out if a cheat day is the right thing for you or not. Okay? Because that's a big one. It hits home to me, because when I have cheat days and it turns into another cheat day and it turns into another cheat day, it can be a downward spiral. Right? So I really want you to have the support and the understanding. All these food concepts, it's simple math, like I said last week. Having the support and having someone to help guide you is what we can help you with. So jgenova@healthsport.com or call Sam Sin, 822-3488. He'll hook you up with one of us, okay? That's where we can be. That's what we want to do. We are here to help you. All right? Now, I don't want to eat up all this time talking about food, but please come back with some feedback. Let me know what you're doing with your life, where you're at with it, and we'll rock and roll. So we're going to break this set down real fast just so we can kind of go into some squat mechanics and some cool stuff. And I'm going to invite Ginger out here to help me break this down real fast. So just hang in there with me for like 2 minutes, okay? Thanks. And you can probably hear me. If you have a broomstick, a wooden dowel, a piece of PVC pipe, any kind of a mop stick, anything, go grab that. Also, like most of the instructionals that I've done here, I preach, go back, rewatch. There's a ton of content, and most of the ones about food, the last one on Thursday, there's so much information to digest. I hope you watch it again. I hope you go back and really kind of begin to ask the questions so you can assess those goals that you have for yourself. Because nutrition is, it's 80%. You hear the people say, oh, I can work out and do my thing, I'll be healthy. Nutrition and what you're putting into your body is well 80%, if not almost 100% of your actual manifestation of how your body creates. What you put in, digest and absorb is what you become, very literally. So please go back, rewatch the videos, ask questions. Same thing with our workout videos that we're doing on Tuesday. They're building up to a greater platform to where you understand the techniques and we can really begin to rock and roll. We're going slow. We're doing 10 to 15 minute workouts. Today, I'm going to break down something that it's kind of daunting for people. I hear people talk about the squat and they're like, well, I don't do that because my lower back's bad. And I don't do that because my knees are bad. And maybe they are, maybe there was a physical trauma or some kind of an injury that actually damaged your body, but maybe not. Maybe if you just go with me on this, maybe your joints in those areas, maybe the form's not there. That could be one factor. And maybe they're just weak because they haven't been trained to get stronger, okay? So before loading on a barbell or grabbing a dumbbell or even like right now in this isolation, the quarantine phase where you're using water or cans of soup or whatever to create resistance. I'm going to show you how to use a broomstick or a wooden dowel or a piece of PVC pipe to begin to, like I said in the beginning, engage your muscle bellies. Fire your body up. This weighs maybe 12 ounces, maybe 13 ounces. And I'm going to have Ginger Greenlee come out here in just a second And I'm gonna turn it into about 50 pounds, 60 pounds of resistance just by engaging your muscle bellies, learning how to cue your body to respond in a way. Once we do that, I want you to try this. This one is not hard. This one's gonna be like, whoa, if you don't have a wooden dowel or anything, grab a towel, okay? Because you can do it with anything that you can pull out on. Super cool, super fun. So Ginger, if you wouldn't mind coming out here. Again, Ginger Greenling. All right, so what I'm gonna have Ginger do is something called the bent over row, okay? From the front, just real fast. This is a one version of a bent over row. There's quite a few. I'm gonna go from my knees. My thumbs are right outside of my knees. I want my neck in line, and I'm gonna pull this from my knees straight to my belly button and back down, okay? There's no resistance whatsoever. So I'm gonna have Ginger do that from the front. Nice and steady, and back down. How heavy is that, Ginger?
Nothing.
It's nothing. There's absolutely nothing there. I mean, she can lift more weight than I can in some circumstances. So I'm actually going to have her now turn to the side to demonstrate. Nice spine in line. She's pulling from her knees to her belly button and back down. Go ahead and pull one more time. See how her elbows are past her spine? She has really mobile shoulders, so maybe you can't go that far. It's totally cool. But now, if you have the bar in hand, I'm going to cue her the same way I'm going to cue you. Can we do a 3/4 turn here? There we go. Okay. So what I want you to do, if you have this wooden dowel in your hands right now, I want you to literally, again, thumbs outside your knee, knee slightly bent, you're hinged at your hips. I want you to squeeze. I want you to strangle this stick or this towel. I want to see white knuckles. I want you squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. You're squeezing for me, Ginger? All right. Now, you're not going to be able to. Ginger's not going to be able to. But I'm going to ask you to try to slide your hands out the bar. Now, you can't slide because you're squeezing so hard. Squeezing so hard. Now, you're going to feel that right behind here on your back, as you pull out, it begins to tighten. I hope you feel it tighten. So as you feel that tighten, that is engaging your muscle belly prior to doing the same range of motion. Nice and slow, all the way pull to your belly button, slow, slow, slow. I want you pulling out, pulling out, pulling out. Coming back down nice and slow, pull, 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 out, 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 and rest. How heavy did that feel, Ginger?
That felt like 40 pounds, 45 pounds.
So, thank you very much, Ginger. I'll have you. What that is I literally had Ginger pull out. It got her lat to fire up. It got every single muscle fiber fired and ready to rock. And as you pull, you're still pulling out. You're pulling through this full range of motion. And you can pull as hard as you want. You can take this thing and turn it into 3 pounds by just going, I'm going to give it a little love and I'm going to pull up nice and slow. Or you can just yank on this thing and try to break this bar by pulling it apart. And it creates so much tension in your muscle belly. We're worried about torque here. We're worried about getting the muscle belly to say, I am working and going through the range of motion. First off, I can show you how to do this with your chest, with your arms, with your legs. JGenova, healthsport.com. Ask me all day long and I'll give you the answers. But this one concept, I want to take it and I want to put it into the squat, the back squat actually. And you can do a squat with 0 weight, with just a wooden dowel. And your body will go, holy moly, I just did some work. And when you go back to the gym, when we open up again, if you learn this form with some of the cues that I'm giving you, you can hop in that squat rack. Not be afraid to do. Maybe with one of our trainers, we can help you get to that place to where you're getting stronger. Maybe you don't want to get stronger. Maybe you want to get more tone. Maybe you just want to have more movement in your body. Because the squat offers that to anybody. If you're 10 years old to 90 years old, the squat's pretty dynamic. It's pretty radical. So without further ado, understanding that we want to engage some muscle bellies, I'm going to show you some of the basic forms with the squat that I see people do incorrectly first, okay? I love mirrors in the gym. Anybody who knows me knows I love the gym, right? I love walking through the gym, looking at the mirrors, looking at everybody doing their thing. It's the best. The mirror leads to one major problem with the squat, okay? The one thing I didn't show you, and I don't have my blackboard up here, so I'm not going to go crazy with it. Our spine, our neck, our cervical spine, and our lower back, our lumbar spine, they actually mirror the same curve. Now our thoracic spine, where our rib cage is at, it curves out. So your spine goes the cervical, thoracic, lumbar. It creates this kind of curve where the neck and your lower back have the same curve. And it's kind of crazy. If your neck cranks up, I'll try to over-exaggerate it. My neck looks up, my butt, it pushes up, okay? In a minute way, when you crank your neck up, your lower back's doing the same thing, okay? So what we really want to do is we definitely don't want to have, I'm just going to get into it a little bit. We don't want to be looking at ourselves right in the mirror, right? This is what this looks like. I see it all the time. I'm going to try to do it kind of incorrectly right now. I see this all the time when they're struggling at this part. It's like, ah. So let's take the first cue that I have for you when it comes to a squat is to imagine you have a tennis ball in your throat. Okay, I want you to just imagine I'm going to hold an apple or a tennis ball right in my throat, and that keeps my spine right in line. Even if it's a little bit lower, it's better than this, okay? So I have kind of an issue with my neck and I have a really long cervical spine, so sometimes it drifts down a little bit further. If you want to, because you're going to want to look at yourself in the mirror, you're going to want to do that. If you do, I want you to stare through your eyebrows. But if your gaze is down at almost like a 45-degree angle, it's going to keep your neck in much better alignment. But if you need to, and I do like 1 or 2 reps out of every set, I just look straight through my eyebrows. Like I'm glaring. It almost makes your eyeballs feel weird because they're staring so high. Excuse me. But that's proper alignment for our neck, okay? That's like the number one thing. People go, oh, my lower back really takes the brunt of the squat. And I don't know why it hurts my lower back so much. It's because you're looking at your darn self in the mirror. That's probably key number one. As far as, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna backstep a little bit because this is probably why people feel lower back so much. But I'm gonna step away from the squat for a second and kind of give you an example. I don't know if anybody does isometric workouts, if you've ever done a shoulder workout ever before in your life. But imagine you have a dumbbell or a weight in your hand over here, okay? It gets heavy pretty quick. But if that same weight was put here, you can hold this much longer. You can lift much more weight here than you can with this long movement arm. I'm just going to call this the movement arm, okay? This is harder than this because it's further out. I hope that makes sense. If you've ever done this, grab a can of soup, grab a gallon of water, do this. It's hard. Rest the same weight on your arm or on your elbow. It is much easier, okay? So imagine the further from the hinge point, so close to the hinge point, easier. Further from the hinge point is harder, right? So minus our neck being curved or whatever that looks like, if I have this bar way high on my neck and I begin to go through the motion, it's way far out there, right? So bar placement has so much to do with doing a proper squat, or at least a squat that's not going to tax your lower back, okay? So what I want you to think about doing is instead of having this bar so far up here, I want you to shrug it on down. I'm not going to get too technical, but you have your shoulder blade, the scapula, and you have something that's called the spine of the scapula. You can feel it. You can feel it. It's like a bump or a ridge in your shoulder blade. This bar should be right on or right below that, okay? That will keep it closer to the movement arm. It'll keep it closer to your body or closer to the hinging point, making it easier for the hinging point to actually tolerate the load. That is like the most paramount part of a squat that I see people doing. I don't want to say incorrectly because there's several schools of thought, but if you're trying to move any kind of weight or even just do a squat with a bar if it's your first time doing it, that's going to make it less traumatic for you. I know some schools of thought with bodybuilding where they want it higher. They want to make it higher, harder on their lower back and their upper butt, but that's a different kind of training, okay? When it comes to a functional move that you can actually apply that's going to make your life better, make your movements better, make you stronger, that lower positioning of the bar makes a world of difference, okay? Now, I only have like 5 or 6 minutes left, and like I said, this is the intro to the squat. But let's talk about how our arms are bracing. And to rewind one more time, we did this. We engaged our muscle bellies prior to going through a range of motion. So now we're going to engage our upper body prior to going through the range of motion. I'm going to show you how to do it with every bit of your body, but with your upper body, I see a lot of this too. The bar's up high, and my wrists are bent underneath, right? First off, it hurts your shoulders, it hurts your wrists, all the things, but it leaves the bar all loose on your body. It's unstable, and you don't have any tension. My chest isn't doing anything, my back isn't doing anything. So what I want you to do is I want you to get this nice and low on your back, and I want you to lift your elbows back. You're going to be lifting my elbows back. See how my wrists go from a broke position to a powerful, over-dominating position, like I'm trying to break this bar over my back? This, it stabilizes as a platform into my back, because that weight won't go anywhere. Not to mention, if you do that right now, you'll feel your chest engage, your back engage, your shoulders will engage a little bit. So we have this whole upper quadrant kind of firing off, just like we did when we pulled out, okay? Now we gotta get the midsection of our body, our core, engaged. So just like we do with a lot of the stuff that we did with that imprint or the wall sit or any of those hollow body movements, we draw our belly button to our spine and we kind of tilt our pelvis forward. So check this out. We're here. I've now changed my position on my where the placement is on the bar. I've broke the bar of my back. I've tightened my core so that I can hinge from my hips. Okay, this is a form for a good morning. I won't even go into what that is, but this is a way to get my whole upper body engaged prior to going through a range of motion. Now, as far as your lower body, on Tuesday, I kind of showed you how to ratchet, or like you're imagining your feet unscrewing jar lids. That kind of gets your knees over your heels, okay? That's gonna get your glutes engaged, it's gonna get your quads engaged. You'll feel your hamstrings a little bit, but when you go through the range of motion, your hamstrings will fire off. So before we really worry about our knees though, we gotta figure out where our heels actually go. This is where a mirror actually helps, okay? A mirror will give you the ability to see where my shoulder's at, and that is essentially, for most people, where that heel should be. Okay, so where my shoulder is, I want my heel right underneath it. Shoulder and heel. And I want my feet kicked out slightly. I won't go into whatever angle, because different people have different hips and different ability to hinge from, maybe there's some injury, maybe there's some lack of mobility from lack of movement. But just imagine your heels are right underneath your shoulders. Use a wooden dowel or use a mirror to access that. Then you ratchet your legs out. Okay, so I have now my heels underneath my shoulders. I've ratcheted out. I pulled my belly button to my spine. I've imprinted and broke this bar over my back, and I'm holding a tennis ball on my throat. Then, so you could squat like this, right? What we really want to have is we want this bar to end up over the midsection, right at the front pads of my foot right here. Right now, for it to go from my back to there, there's a little bit of a movement that you have to do, because you want this bar to move in a straight line. Once I get it to the right spot, I want it to go up and down in a straight line. To get from here to right over my midfoot, it's just like there was a water slide back in the day, and probably still exists, where you kind of get to the edge and then you move, go straight down. Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of push our butt back to hinge over to it, to that breaking point, and then we're going to go right down that slide, okay? So what I want you to do, tennis ball in the throat, breaking that bar, heels under our shoulders, ratchet our legs out, belly button to our spine as we let our butt go back just a little bit. See how that bar goes right over my midfoot? And then I hinge my body. Now you'll see a lot of people, they squat, and it looks more like they're like this, right? When you're really, I want it right over my midfoot. I want to end the squat somewhere like this. Now, if your range of motion doesn't allow for that, just go as far as you can, tracking over your midfoot. Maybe it's right here. Maybe it's right here. And then we come back and we unload in that same fashion. We squeeze our butt at the top. So we belly button to the spine, hinge our hips back, let that roller coaster begin, down, and then back up, and then rock and roll. One of the things we can do, I'm going to give you a tutorial maybe another day on how to set up a plumb line, so you can, maybe if you take your phone or have someone film you, so we can see if this bar is moving up and down in a straight line. And if it is, your squat form is dynamic. people have different length spines and different length femurs, so it's gonna look different on everybody. I wanna help you. Again, jgenova@healthsport.com. I wanna make sure I'm not running over time here, but this is the intro to the squat. If you like what you see, if you wanna learn more, let me know. And honestly, just doing this, I'm kind of catching my breath. I'm talking a lot, but it also, if you really push it, your whole body will fire off. So that's the intro to the squat, and rock and roll. Excuse me. Oh, we're good. Thank you very much, guys. Again, jgenova@healthsport.com. And last thing, pretty cool today, me and John Thompson from Institute of Combat, we started putting together some cool stuff. Like I said, we're gonna have this thing going in the next week or two. Stay tuned and I'll let you know more about it. Thank you very much. Have a great day.